We all thought this beef was ancient history, dead and buried. But somehow the bad blood between Kyrie and LeBron just got a second wind. It's getting ugly fast because Luka Doncic just got dragged into the crossfire during a live stream. Someone asked Kyrie his thoughts on Luka heading to the Lakers, and man, he didn't hold back. I gave my brother a heads up before he signed with that team. You're always looking over your shoulder around a snake like that. Believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg once you start linking LeBron to his ties with Diddy, the LA underworld, and those wild rumors about Kyrie and Luka's initiation. You'll quickly see this goes way beyond some petty hoops rivalry. This is massive. It could literally dismantle LeBron's legacy and take the entire Lakers organization down with it. But before we get into that, let's quit acting like the Lakers are just a sports team. They're something else entirely. Luka Doncic didn't move to Hollywood just to shoot hoops. He stumbled into a high-stakes machine that's far more complex than any game stats. Everyone watching the highlights thinks he's at the top of the world, but the truth is, he's basically been recruited into a massive Hollywood empire run by Clutch and Spring Hill, which demands everyone in the circle sticks to a script where LeBron is the only star. That's exactly what Kyrie was trying to tell Luka, that he's walking into a shark tank full of people who'll do anything to protect their own interests. We're talking about a scene where being in with the Hollywood elite is more important than actual rings. And it gets even grittier. If you want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes, you've got to check the evidence that the Clutch PR machine is panicking to delete right now. Pretty much everyone recalls that 2020 Instagram Live where LeBron looked straight at the lens and dropped this bomb. Listen, everyone knows a Diddy party is in a league of its own. So, yeah, that's the vibe. This guy is supposed to be the greatest to ever play, right? Yet, here he was, bragging to the world about hitting up Diddy's events. They aren't even being low-key about it. The same party's linked to all those disturbing allegations. People brushed it off back then as just rich guy talk. But since the feds came down on Diddy with those indictments, that old clip looks like a direct link to the seediest parts of Los Angeles. And as soon as Diddy got cuffed, LeBron turned his back instantly. Look at how fast he bailed the second the situation turned south. Barely 48 hours after that surveillance footage of Diddy and Cassie hit the news, LeBron quietly cut ties online. That move was a cold, calculated escape purely to keep LeBron's image clean, as usual. For someone who usually has a lot to say about global politics and social issues, his absolute silence on the Diddy probe is pretty telling. Why is he staying quiet now? Yeah, I think we can all guess. But this goes way beyond a simple social media unfollow. By April 2025, legal evidence linking LeBron to Diddy began leaking, despite the media's best efforts to bury it. Do you guys recall that insane 87-page lawsuit filed by Lil Rod, one of Diddy's victims? Seriously? Check this out. Official leaks confirm that massive power players like James, Jay-Z, and Beyonce were present at those degenerate gatherings. They weren't just standing around. They were fully immersed in the madness. Here's where Luka and the Lakers enter the frame. When you examine the legal accounts of those parties, you see undeniable mirrors within that Lakers locker room and the exact same power hierarchy James established for the franchise. Everyone in that circle is just a tool for his brand, whether they like it or not. Regarding the Diddy situation, James wasn't moving solo. Testimony logs identify his inner circle at these events, meaning the whole crew was involved in those scenes. This man was knee-deep in one of the filthiest chapters of Hollywood history. And now he is trying to drag Luka into that same chaos. Doncic just wants to hoop and stack points, but he's stuck with a supposed leader who will cross any line to protect his status as the top dog. If you thought Kyrie was just being bitter when he warned Luka about James, you seriously need to wake up because people clearly forget that Irving was once in Luka's exact shoes and barely escaped with his dignity. If you are curious like I am and have been questioning why Doncic suddenly plummeted to number 4 in the MVP rankings and faced random league audits after dropping 60 points and breaking Kobe's records in Los Angeles, you must study how James ran this exact same playbook on Irving back in 2014. Look, before James crawled back to Cleveland, that was Kyrie's kingdom. He was a pure athlete without the drama, strictly about the handles and the buckets. But once James arrived, it turned into an ambush, ruining the plan of a shared partnership. Instead, he showed up and started treating Irving like a low-level assistant. Need some proof? Why is one grown professional calling another grown professional a kid to the media? Just trying to help the kid reach his potential. But that is just the start. Remember James screaming at Irving mid-game like he was some master? Let's head back to the studio desk. Hey Mark, the second game of our doubleheader is starting in Oakland. That isn't even the most disturbing part. Do you want to hear the most chilling detail? James's control issues go way beyond the court. Just like his attempt to lure Luka into that shady industry clique. Back in 2017, rumors swirled that James tried to initiate Irving into that celebrity underworld. Those Diddy parties, the secret industry oaths, the whole deal. But Irving walked away because he wasn't about that life. The moment James realized he couldn't possess Irving, he started ruining his career. That is his signature move. If he cannot own you, he will break you. He does it so subtly that he looks like a saint while you look like the problem. Irving was the media's darling until he defied James. Does that pattern ring a bell? Because that is exactly the trap being set for Luka right now. As soon as Luka started eclipsing him, shattering Kobe's Laker milestones, the LeBron media blackout took effect immediately. Seriously, how else do you explain why agencies funded by Clutch are suddenly labeling Luka as a toxic teammate who's impossible to work with? Or why his MVP stock tanked despite the fact that he's playing like an absolute deity lately? But this gets way deeper, and honestly, it's pretty repulsive. Rumors are flying through LA that Luka's messy split and custody battle with his former fiancée weren't just a stroke of bad luck. Insiders claim that the leaks and drama were allegedly ignited by the Clutch PR engine to protect LeBron's image as a family man. It's incredibly obvious this is a calculated hit job. Luka refused to follow the script. So they're crushing his spirit until he finally submits to LeBron. It's the same old tactic they've always used. LeBron creates such a toxic vibe that you either fall in line or he targets you. And look, you don't even have to trust me. Analyze it yourself. One moment, Luka is making history. Then 48 hours later, the league office, essentially a LeBron fan club, suspends him over some pathetic, tiny technicality. Then the MVP rankings drop him to 4 behind guys, whose stats he is literally doubling. When LeBron bricked that game winner against Miami a few weeks ago, what was his move? He dumped the entire blame on Luka and told the press this. Honestly, I am not certain. I mean, you definitely have to ask Luka what he saw there, but I thought he had a clear look. So when people say Kyrie left, he didn't just quit Cleveland, he escaped a cult. He realized he was being sacrificed just so LeBron could polish his own reputation. And as we reach 2026, watching Luka look totally defeated in interviews while his MVP award gets hijacked in public, you see LeBron's machinery starting to grind away yet again. But this is where things get truly wild, because it turns out Kyrie and Luka weren't the only ones trapped in LeBron's dark web. If you think this is just bad luck for the Lakers, you've ignored the last 15 years of NBA history. See, LeBron doesn't just sign players, he recruits alpha stars by promising them mentorship and a shared legacy. Then the moment they join his team, he strips away their whole identity. It's basically a soul-stealing operation, man. He scouts these stars, promises a ring, then turns them into role players with big names just to keep his own career stats looking legendary. Just look at what he did to Kevin Love back in 2014. Before Love arrived in Cleveland, the guy was a total beast in Minnesota, averaging 26 and 13. He was clearly that elite guy. But the second he joined LeBron, he was downgraded to a corner shooter who only saw the ball when LeBron felt like sharing. And here is the kicker. LeBron didn't just ruin his stats. He went on social media to openly shame him. Remember the whole fit in tweet? That wasn't just some random thought. LeBron literally stood at a podium and admitted it was a direct shot at Kevin Love for failing to adapt. Picture being a world-class superstar and having your teammates subtweet you like a petty teenager just to prove who's in charge. And don't even get me started on Chris Bosh. Bosh was a 24-point beast. Essentially, LeBron stripped him of his scoring identity and forced him into the role of a defensive grunt. It was all a calculated move so the king could monopolize the glory in the paint. Bosh effectively torched his entire legacy just to keep Bron happy. By the end of it, the media treated a perennial all-star like a mere background character. You'd assume his inner circle would be off limits, right? Not a chance. Just look at Anthony Davis. Those two were the face of clutch sports for 5 straight years. But as the 2025 trade deadline rolled around, league insiders started leaking that LeBron was ready to ship AD out the moment his stats faltered. If you think his public displays of emotion during trades are genuine, you're being played. Jeff Teague, who actually witnessed the locker room dynamics, flat out stated on his podcast that LeBron felt zero remorse when Kyrie or AD were moved. That public heartbreak was nothing more than a scripted performance for the cameras. Behind closed doors, LeBron was already hunting for the next superstar to power his machine. And wait until you see his latest target, the pattern here is genuinely haunting. He finds an alpha, breaks their will, and discards them once the brand needs a fresh face. But here's the hitch in his plan. Luka isn't another Kevin Love. He isn't the type to just shut up and fall in line. Right now, something is brewing in the dark that's sending massive tremors through Clutch headquarters. Kyrie Irving hasn't just been watching this from the sidelines. He's been in Luka's ear every single night because, in his words, that's his brother. You have to realize the connection between Kyrie and Luka wasn't some fake PR stunt. What they built in Dallas was the only legitimate threat to LeBron's empire because it was based on something he can't replicate. A real brotherhood with zero power trips and no hidden agendas. Simply two elite talents obsessed with winning at all costs. You want to talk about a total betrayal? Let's look at how Luka was traded in the middle of the night without any warning or his consent. Just a 2 a.m. alert on his phone saying he was being shipped off to the Lakers. The whole situation was shady from the start, but Kyrie's reaction was the real giveaway. Usually when a star moves to a powerhouse like the Lakers, their former teammates post a generic go-get-'em message. Not Kyrie. On his March 2025 Twitch stream, Kyrie admitted he was struggling for days after the news. When asked about it later, he didn't mention basketball or the roster. He said he was going through a period of mourning, a literal grieving process that's still ongoing. "Miss my brother," he said, reflecting on their bond. "We spent so much time together with Keith and Maxie too. We built something that went way beyond the game. Think deeply about that word, grieving." Kyrie wasn't mourning a lost teammate or a game. He was terrified because he knew his brother had just walked into the exact same snare he fought years to escape. If you analyze it, it's the same psychological cycle on repeat. Kyrie was 23 when LeBron claimed him. Luka is 26. Both were promised the future while being used as high-level props for LeBron's personal legacy. Kyrie went even further on his stream, exposing the dark side of the Lakers' inner workings perfectly. He said, and I quote, "LeBron doesn't play the game, he plays the room. He mastered that backroom manipulation from the LA underground. You control the environment, and eventually, you control the man. If you can't take him down, you drag him home and force him to work for you." But check it, this is where the whole thing gets way more sinister. While Luka's busy balling out and shattering Kobe's legendary milestones, Bron is tanking the entire Lakers squad to the bottom of the West just to inflate stats with his kid. He's putting on this big Dad of the Year act for the headlines, throwing away a top 3 global talent's best years while the press claims Luka's the one slacking on defense. This leads us straight into those backroom whispers swirling through the league about Bron orchestrating Luka's total collapse, the true motive behind these bizarre bans and his plummeting MVP stock. Because Luka pulled the one move that's strictly forbidden. Now, per sources deep inside the Lakers front office, Bron wanted Luka as a full-time babysitter to carry Bronny, coach him through the rookie phase, and manufacture some fake stardom. But Luka straight up declined to play nanny for Bron's boy. It's mind-blowing when you see that King James isn't just looking for a teammate in Luka, he's attempting to demote a 5-time All-NBA legend into a glorified, overpaid childminder. Yet, that's not even what really sets me off. Look, I'd get it if he were guiding some actual prodigy with real potential and a bright future. But we're looking at a kid putting up a measly 2.3 points a night. Let's get real, he's only wearing that purple and gold because his dad held the franchise hostage. Hilariously enough, Kyrie warned Luka about this very ambush. It's the classic LeBron shadow game where you're backed into a corner with no good exits. If Luka says no to spending his gym time molding Bronny, the puppet media brands him as a greedy egoist or a bad teammate. But if he caves, His peak years get burned up protecting someone else's vanity project instead of chasing titles. Could you ever picture Black Mamba or MJ pulling a stunt like this? Kobe and Jordan were out for blood, not running a family lemonade stand on the hardwood. It's even more frustrating knowing Luka actually idolized Bron as a kid. He admitted it in pressers back when he was a teen in Madrid. But clearly, don't meet your idols, because this is way past simple locker room friction now. Bron is on a full-blown mission to sabotage Luka's entire career. Catch the viral clips from the Lakers game where Bron is obviously faking an ankle tweak the exact moment he saw Luka prepping for the buzzer beater. He couldn't stomach being on the court to watch Luka take the glory. Oh, it gets deeper. Look at this footage where Bron totally snubs Luka's handshake, ghosting him like he doesn't even exist. The vibes are obvious. If you won't help Bron script his father-son fantasy, he'll paint you as the bad guy. He's wrecking the lineup and letting his media puppets destroy Luka's MVP buzz, simply because Luka prioritized his own legacy over Bronny's growth. And as if the on-court hit job wasn't enough, witness the total media blackout from Bron's camp about the MVP race. It's the most aggressive silence in the history of the game. We've watched Bron hit Twitter and spend whole interviews hyping up his guys before. Am I tripping, or does nobody remember how hard he campaigned for AD to win Defensive Player of the Year? Think about how he pumps up the bench just to sell that selfless captain persona. But with Luka dropping legendary stats that jeopardize his rep while hunting for that MVP ring, Luka gets the cold shoulder. 0 shoutouts on Twitter, not even a single hype post on his Instagram story. It's a calculated move because a teammate winning MVP officially buries his greatest ever claim. Seriously, if you're supposed to be the undisputed king, how are you? Arguably the third best option on your own squad. It paints him as a sidekick in his own arena. Chuck even pointed out the obvious, claiming that the king is basically coasting while Luka shoulders the entire burden. Barkley took it a step further, labeling him the most expensive background player in league history. Honestly, he might just be the most talented third wheel we have ever seen. He realizes that if Luka takes home that hardware, it proves he isn't just getting older. He's turned into a 41-year-old passenger. So instead of rooting for his guy, he stays quiet and lets the media hit pieces tear him down. It is a ruthless play to shield a legacy that is already showing serious cracks. This brings us right back to the red flag that kicked off this whole mess. I told my brother to watch his back in LA. You are never safe around a predator like that. When Kyrie Irving dropped that bomb, the internet just wrote it off as his usual cryptic rambling. But look at the evidence. He was not talking about what happens on the court. He was talking about surviving those shady Hollywood power circles. He witnessed how the star power of guys like Bosh and Love was totally stripped away. He saw exactly how the king treats elite talents who refuse to kiss the ring. Kyrie called this out before the drama went public because he had already escaped that toxic environment. If you think I am reaching, just check the actual data. This year, the Lakers are 9-2 when Luka runs the show without him. Let that sink in. 9 wins and only 2 losses. Without the king there to freeze him out or dodge pressure with injuries, Luka makes them a real contender. The stats are honest, even if the man himself is not. Luka signed with LA expecting a dynasty, but he actually fell into a trap that could tank his career. He is 26 years old, right in the heart of his physical prime, yet he is stuck choosing between babysitting a low-scoring rookie or being the fall guy in a media setup. This leads to one final, chilling question. Did Luka actually take Kyrie's advice behind closed doors? Or has he already been swallowed by the dark side of the league?